everyone, this is Christine. Welcome to Scrap and Rabbit. This morning I started working on a little mini album. I call it Accordion Pocket Mini Album. I was having my morning coffee and I just started folding paper and I came out with this little mini album and it was so super easy to make and I think it's really cute, and I thought, well, I'm going to get a tutorial on it. And it works with the my Christmas and Halloween tags and also my floral and lace tags. So those of you who bought my tags and used them on my other pocket mini album that I had the free tutorial on, you can also use those for this album, because I had some spare tags left that were printed and I thought, oh, I want to use them. So that's when I came up with the idea for this little mini album. And you don't need very many supplies. I used, I think, about 6 sheets of this 8.5 by 11 cardstock. I used the Recollection, it's only 65 pounds. I used some pieces of Christmas themed paper that I had, and I used my tags, and I think I only used seven or 8 tags in this album. And then also I used some chipboard for the covers. Didn't need a lot of chipboard, just 3 small pieces. Now if you don't have this medium weight chipboard, you can just use a cardboard box and cut it up. In this video I'm going to show you how to go about constructing it. So I'll just give you a look first. I've got this little Tim Holtz buckle on the front to hold it closed, and then I embellished it with these little flowers, some little beads here, some flat back pearls, and a little embellishment on the side, and I've got a little die cut for journaling or a date on the back. Now this opens like this, and then these pages open like that. So there's my Christmas paper, and I've got my tags on the right. You don't need to use the tags, you can use whatever you have. And then this also opens like this, so it's accordion style. So you have lots of room for pictures in here. And then here's the pockets section up here. So each of my pages here has a pocket, and I matted the pockets. And what I did is the back I left with plain paper for journaling, or a photo can also be put on there. This one here has just plain green paper, and I inked around the edge a little bit. So this is really, really quick to make. Makes a great hostess gift. If you're going to a craft sale, craft fair, and you want to make these and sell them in this design using my instructions, feel free to do so. If you sell them online, I really appreciate a link back to my website. I'll include a link to my website in the description of this video. But yeah, by all means, feel free to make them and sell them at craft fair, and whatever money you make helps pay for your supplies. That's great. So let's get started. Like I said, you can download all of the dimensions from my website. There's a link below. I'm going to start by making the accordion pages, and then I'm going to make the pocket, and then we're going to make the covers and attach the pages in the covers. So let's get started with the accordion pages. I've got 4 pages. 3 of these pages measure 7 3/4 across, and 1 page is a bit smaller and it measures only 7 1/4 inches across. I want to work with this one last. So start with the longest pages, and we're going to score. So I put my cardstock on my scoreboard, and on the 7 3/4 inch side I score at 3 5/8, and at 7 1/4. And I do the same thing with the other 2. 3 5/8, 7 1/4. My last one, I only score at 3 5/8. And again, I'm going to put this one aside for now. So I'm going to attach my 3 accordion pages together. I'm going to start by my last score line, 7 1/4. I'm going to fold that like that to make a hinge. And I'm going to do that on all 3 of them. Like that. Now, the straight edge of this page is going to attach inside the hinge like that. So I'm going to put some 2-sided tape inside each of my hinges. And I'm going to make one long accordion. Okay, so now I can start attaching these. So this will attach to this hinge, and this one will attach to this hinge. So I'm just going to fold my hinge like that and position my paper, my cardstock. Make sure it's nice and straight. And then I can remove the tape backing and fold that down like that. So there's my first 2 pages attached, and then this one will attach to this one. And then I take my last one, the shorter page, and that's going to attach like this. So I've got one long page. Now I'm going to start folding this accordion style. So my hinge folds like that. So this page is going to go in like this. And then like that. And this folds in like that. So now I want to make the pockets that attach in here. I've pre-cut my pockets, and there are 7 of them. I'm going to put this on my scoreboard. And on the 4 1/4 inch side, I score at 3/8 of an inch and at 3 7/8. Then I turn it over to the 5 1/2 inch side, and I score at 1/4 inches only. Like that. So I'm going to do that to all of my pockets. 3/8, 3 7/8, and 1/4 inch. Now the score lines here are the sides of my pockets, and this is the bottom. Where the score lines meet at the bottom, I'm going to cut the corners diagonally to make it easier to fold the pocket. So like that, just on a slight diagonal. Like that. And I'm going to do that to each of my pockets. Once that's done, I'm going to fold up the seams like that. And I'm going to put some two-sided tape on there. My side seams are a little wider. My bottom seam is very narrow, but this 1/4 inch tape just fits. You can also use glue if you prefer. Okay. Now I'm going to attach these pockets to my pages. The way I've constructed mine is the first page opens to the left like that. And I have a pocket on the front and then on the right side of my other pages, except for the last page, which will be attaching to the base of the album here. So I'm going to take my pocket, and now because my crease is over on the left, I'm going to line up the right edges of the page. So there's going to be a little border here on the left showing, like that. And the reason I'm doing that is when I get to my inside pages, I don't want it against this crease because I don't want to prevent the pages from closing properly. My inside pages also will be lined up towards the right, like that. So this is going to be flush with the right edge, and it's going to be the same height as the page. So I remove a little bit of my two-sided tape backing from one edge here, and then I just line this up. I can open it up like that. I'm going to line it up with my page, and then I remove the rest of the tape backing to finish attaching my pocket. My other pockets are ready and taped, so I'm going to add them to my accordion pages. So here's the second pocket, and I'm going to line it up with this right edge of my page. And the third. and this just stays plain. Then on the other side, on the back, I'm going to start adding my pocket to the left page. So that opens like this. I'm going to put one pocket here, and I'm going to line it up with the fold on the left, with the edge. And then I put another pocket on the left again. And then the last pocket goes on this page here. So my pages are constructed. There's my accordion, and I've got 7 pockets in there. So now I'm going to make my tags that go inside each pocket. And I've pre-cut my tags, and I have a little tab at the top. I used this punch to make my little tabs, and it makes one top note, and then I just cut them in 2. You can use whatever you want, just a square piece of cardstock if you want, or a circle, or whatever. So I'm going to take my scoreboard, and I'm going to make sure that I line these up straight. 1 5/8 is the center, and this little center mark here I will position at 1 5/8, and then all I need to do is place my paper over it. So I'm going to put a piece of 2-sided tape on here, like that. I can put 2 pieces. I remove my tape, and I position it so that the center of this tab is at 1 5/8 of an inch, and then I take my tag So all 7 of my tags are done, and I'm going to mat those off screen and then insert them inside each of the pockets. I'm also going to mat my pockets. Now on the front page facing me, here I'm going to use a tag, and then on the right page on this side of the album, I'm going to put a tag there, and then on the left I'm just going to have a plain scrapbook paper as matting for photos. And on the inside of the last page, I'm going to mat here, and I'm just going to mat there as well. You could put another tag if you like. You can put tags wherever you want, or you can just use whatever scrapbook paper you have. And then on the left, same thing, I'm going to put a tag on the pocket here on the left side of the album. So I'm using these tags. I've got these are leftovers. Now these are the ones with the little hole in the top, and I don't want the hole to be visible, so I'm probably going to put a little flower on there or something, but I want to use these up. So I'm just going to trim around the edge of each tag and attach them to my pockets. I've cut my tags and I put a piece of two-sided tape on each of the four corners, and the way I like to mat is tape on the corners, and then I use my glue stick all around the edges and a bit across the middle. That way everything stays down. And then I'm going to put this over my front pocket. I center top to bottom and left to right over the pocket. Like that. Then I'm going to do the next page the same way. And the next page. And the fourth. And these last two pages I'm just going to use plain scrapbook paper, and those are going to be photo mats. So I'm back at the beginning of the album. I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to add another photo here, another photo here, and another one here. So I've attached all of my tags. Now all of the rest of these are going to be matted with plain scrapbook paper. So I'm going to go ahead and do that off screen, and I'm also going to mat both sides of my tags. One side I think I'll leave for journaling, so I'm just going to use a light colored scrapbook paper that can be written on, and then I'll have my Christmas scrapbooking paper on the other side that can be used as a photo mat. And when I'm matting, I don't need to mat. Here, my last page, on the reverse, I don't need to mat this because that's going to be attached to the cover, the back cover of the album. So no matting required on the back. My pages are all matted. And I've also matted my tags like that. And I can journal on the back here. So now I'm ready to make the covers for the mini album. I've got my 3 pieces of chipboard. Now this one measures 4 inches wide by 6 1/4 inches high, and that's so that it will accommodate the album and the little tags that I have sticking up here, the pull tabs. So I've got my 2 covers, and I've got my spine, which is 1 inch wide, and then I also have, I forgot, this piece of plastic, or you can use Tyvek, and I'm going to attach the spine to the plastic. I'm going to work on my scoreboard. That way it'll be more visible for you guys, since I'm working on with black cardstock on a black table. So I'm going to be attaching my spine to the center. I'm going to use plastic because I don't have Tyvek, and this is for reinforcing the spine. So I put my spine centered on my plastic, and then my covers will attach on either side with the gap in between. So I'm going to start with my piece of spine, and I put some 2-sided tape across there. And just a tip, when you're cutting your chipboard, if you have an old blade that you can use in your trimmer, it'll help save on your good blade, because it will wear through quite quickly. And I find I can use my old blades no problem when I'm trimming chipboard, because I'm going to be wrapping it up anyways. Okay, so now I'm going to center this across left to right on my plastic, and it's the same height as my spine. So I start by removing 1 strip of the tape backing. This is hard even for me to see. Okay. Like that. So just press that down, and I remove the rest of the tape backing. Now I'm going to attach my cover, and I'm going to start about 1/4 inch away from the edge of the spine. If it's close like that, right up against it, it's going to strain when you try to close the album, and your paper will tear. So make sure you leave a good little gap here like that, so that this can close and it's not going to interfere. So I'm going to place my 2-sided tape starting about 1/4 inch away from my spine. And I'm going to put a few strips across. And then the same thing on the other side. tape backing from the furthest edge on my plastic, and then I position my cover, make sure it's nice and straight, about a 1/4 inch away from the spine, and then I press it down, and I can see that it's straight. So I'll remove the rest of the tape backing. And I lay this down. And I do the same thing for the other cover. Quarter inch, about a 1/8, between 1/8 and a 1/4 inch away from the spine. Okay, I'll remove the rest of this backing. And there's the covers. The outside is the side with the plastic on it. So now I take my paper that I'm going to wrap my covers with. I'm going to use this green, and I flip it over and I lay my covers on top like that. And I can just judge. I want about 1 inch from at the top, 1 inch at the bottom, and 1 inch on each side for wrapping. So I can mark this about there. And now I'm going to position my covers on there. So I'm going to put some two-sided tape across on the outside of the covers. Now I'm going to use wider tape. You can just use multiple strips of thinner tape if you want, but I really want this to hold well around the spine area where it's going to open and close. Now I'm going to remove the last strip of tape backing, and I'm going to center this over my paper, like that. And now I remove the rest of the tape backing from the covers as I lay my paper down. Now I'm ready to start wrapping. For the corners, I'm going to draw a diagonal line about 1/4 inch away from each corner, 1/8 to 1/4 inch away from each corner. Like that. And I'm going to cut along those lines, and that's going to make it easier to fold the corners. And when you cut, make sure you don't go any closer than the line. Now I'm going to put some two-sided tape around the covers on all 4 sides, and I'm also going to push down inside that little gap. And around all of the edges of my scrapbook paper, including these diagonal cuts. So now I start wrapping. I'm going to start at one end, and I fold this down. And now I lift up the tape backing from this end. And I'm also lifting up the tape backing on the diagonal cuts just halfway. Like that. And I fold my paper up inside the covers. Next, I'm going to do this side. So I'm going to fold down like that. And I want these corners to be nice and crisp, so I'm going to press in a bit with my finger, like that. Just to sort of shape the corner so that it goes in a little bit like that. And then I remove my tape backing. I'll lift this diagonal corner up. Like that. And I push this corner in. And the same thing on this side, at both ends. and I wrapped my outside covers. So this is going to go inside like this. I am going to have to line the inside before I attach this. But before I line the inside, I'm going to fold this up like that, shape the creases. I want to attach my little Tim Holtz buckle to the top, and the prongs are going to come through here, and then this is going to be covered with the liner paper inside, so the prongs won't be visible. And then the same thing on the back. I've got this little strap that I made out of faux leather fabric, and I've got a brad that goes through a little hole there. So I'm heating up my glue gun in the meantime. Now these are the little buckles that I'm using. It's Tim Holtz buckles. You can use whatever you want to fasten your album. I find these easy to use, and if you buy them with the coupon at Michael's, it's a bit cheaper. Before I attach my buckle though, I want to put an image on my cover. So I've chosen my image and I've cut around it, and I've put my two-sided tape on the back. So I'm going to position this centering left to right, like that. Oops. Now I'm going to position where I want the buckle on the cover, and my center is at 3 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to find the center on here, and that's about here. So that's going to go like that, and then I can judge where to place it from the edge. About there is good. So I'll just take my pen and I'll mark here where to punch the hole. And I'm just going to use this tool to punch the hole. Support the cover underneath so that you don't bend it. And I'll just push this through like that. Make sure the brad fits, and it does. Okay, so now I'm going to put my brad through the hole on the buckle, and that's going to be fed through the hole, but I think I'm just going to put a little bit of glue under here just to help hold it straight on the page. Like that. And I'm just going to hold it while the glue cools a little bit. Like so. Okay. Now I can open the prongs on the inside like that. Now to make sure that this stays in place, I'm just going to glue a little piece of cardstock over that. Or actually I'll just use a bit of scrapbook paper. I'm going to use this little piece of faux leatherette to make this strap. I've cut it and it measures 4.5 inches long and it's 1/2 inch wide so that it will fit through the buckle like that. So I start by making a hole about 1.25 inches away from the end. So that's about here, like that. Now I want my end to be pointed, so I'm going to fold this in two, and I'm going to cut it so that it forms a little V like that. And then I want my other end to be also cut as an inverted V, but I'm going to wait until I position this on my album to see how long I need to trim this, because I might not need the full 4.5 inches. So I feed this through here like that, and then I can judge approximately how wide I want this, or I can just put my pages in here like that, and then I can leave some slack to allow room for expansion on there, and I can see that my strap will go about here like that. So I'm going to undo this end, remove this, and now I can decide where to punch my hole, and I think this should be good right here. Again, make sure you support the cover so you don't bend it. And I'm piercing through the strap and the cover like that. Okay. I'm going to use one of these fasteners. I just get these at my Staples office supply store. You can buy brads too, but they're nice and cheap there, and they've got nice long arms. So this will attach through my hole in the back like that, and that will go through the hole there. Now I want to, you don't have to, but I want to make this end shaped a bit. So I'm going to fold it in two again, and I'm going to make a little V shape like that. So now I'm going to push this through, and I open the brads on the inside. You position it so that your brads go lengthwise here, like that, so they don't stick out. Now I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to cover this with a piece of scrapbook paper. And I don't even need them all that long, so I'm going to trim these a bit. These are very easy to cut. So I'm just going to cover that like that. I am running out of glue, and I have to push this through. No, I'm going to have to heat up my other glue gun. Okay. I only have these extra large glue sticks left, so I had to use my larger glue gun. So I'll just finish attaching this brad like that. Now, there might be a bit of a bump here, but that's okay. It's going to be covered up. Like that. Okay. Now, I'm going to line this before I put my stack of pages down. I took a piece of scrapbook paper, like that, and I trimmed it so that it fits about 1/8 inch from the left, the top, the bottom, and I'm going to trim a little bit more off the right edge. Now I've put my two-sided tape under here, all around and across. I'll put another strip at this end, like that. And I'm going to lay this down on here. Now, because there's going to be a lot of movement here around the spine, I'm going to add some extra tape directly to the cover. Like that. I want to make sure that this is going to hold really well. Go across the spine and on the edge of each cover. Just like that. Okay, so I'm going to remove a bit of tape backing from one edge, and I position my paper. If there's a direction, make sure your album isn't upside down. Position that on there and start to adhere. Remove the rest of the tape backing from my paper and from the covers. Make sure it's well adhered, especially over the spine. And I can bend at the spine like that. And use your bone folder to press in. Don't press in too hard. You don't want to tear the paper. Like that. So there's my inside cover. So now I'm ready to attach my pages into the album. So I'm going to center this page here. I've already put some two-sided tape around the edges and all the way across. I want this to be nice and solid. Make sure your pages are in the right direction, and so is your album. And that's going to attach like this. And you want to center the top of your pull tab with the bottom of the page across the album. And then I center left to right on the page. So I think the easiest way to do this, again, is I'm going to just remove a few pieces of the tape backing. or maybe just one piece for now, while I get this nice and centered, straight top to bottom and left to right. Like that. And you can test it. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. And so now I'm going to open this up like that. And I can remove the rest of the tape backing, being very careful not to move the album. Actually, it's a little bit hard because it's so stiff. I could have removed all the tape and then just make sure I put it on straight. But a little bit of patience here will work. Sure this is nicely attached, and the pages are attached to the album. I'm going to close this. Now you can add some more little holes if you want, but this will expand anyways, so I don't think I'm going to add any more holes right now. So now I'm ready to embellish the front. And I'm going to cover this little printed hole. I'm going to use my 3 little roses, and I also have this, I just looped it as a figure 8. They're just little strand of pearls, and I tied it with the thread, and I'm just going to attach that like that and have my little flower over top. Yeah, so that's going to go here, like that. I don't like this giant glue gun. Okay, that goes there. Now on the back of my other album, I had a die cut shape for a date. And I use this punch. Piece of cardstock. I'm just going to ink the edges. You don't need to do this, I just like having that on the back. It's just an extra little journaling spot. Or if it's a gift for someone, you can just put a little note on there saying who it's from. And I'm just going to attach this here. Like that. Okay, now on this album I had these little pearls that I put on the sides. I think I'm out of these little pearls, so I'll see if I can find something else. And also I'm going to find a little embellishment to put on the side of my album here. So I've added some little crystals around the bottom corners here. And then on the side I put a little red sheer ribbon and a little flower with the pearl center on top. So there's my little mini album. I hope you enjoyed working with this tutorial, and you can make lots of these little albums in different styles for Easter, Halloween. I've got my Halloween tags, so I might make some for Halloween, and also I have my floral and lace tags for, I think for Mother's Day would probably work really good to make some little Mother's Day albums, and then I'll put those up on eBay. So I hope you enjoyed working with this tutorial and have fun making lots of your own little albums. Have a nice day. Bye.